Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Star Wars podcast, Bad Batch Breakdown Edition of Season 2, Episode 9, The Crossing.
The Crossing.
The Crossing. And Crosshair didn't even appear. Missed opportunity, man.
The whole season. The team tackles a risky mission on a hostile world. I wouldn't really call it that hostile. Wasn't that?
What, the planet? No, I wouldn't really call it hostile so much as it was inconvenient.
Yeah, it was inconvenient for them. Lion King vibes, kind of similar to the Indiana Jones one, too.
Yeah, definitely some Indiana Jones vibes in this one.
Yeah.
Well, we have an episode breakdown to get into, but before we do that, should we start off with some Star Wars news?
Sure, we sure should. I wonder if we have a graphic for that.
I wonder. Let me check. Oh, wait.
That
Good
silence
evening.
at the end is so loud.
Good evening. Star Wars news. I think the main one off the bat is we have a 45-second clip from The Mandalorian Season 3 that released this week. Did you watch that?
I did. Do you have it pulled up?
I do have it pulled up.
Let's watch it again because it's hype.
We have 11 days.
I know. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Isn't that insane?
I can't wait.
So let's watch this clip of Mando Season 3 really quick.
Now, as I was saying, there's a beautiful parcel available right down here by the flats.
I appreciate the offer, but I have some matters to look after.
Well, I'm confused. I thought you had completed your mission, but you're still running around here with the same little critter.
It's complicated. I completed my quest. He returned to me. I removed my helmet, and now I'm an apostate.
Which is all the more reason for you to stay here with us. Where you're from, you may be an apostate, but here, you'd be landed gentry.
There it is.
Amazing.
There
so
it is.
Hyped, dude. What a good clip.
Not Carl Weathers' succulent, deep voice.
He's great. I love Carl Weathers. He's been persistently around since we were kids. He's just been in things. A Predator, Rocky. Yeah. Now Mando. I mean, he's been in a lot of other awesome 80s classics as well. But love to see him back. I'm glad they made him a recurring character. And obviously little baby Grogu's back. So
force spinning himself.
Yeah, he's force spinning around, eating his little pomegranate seeds or whatever those are.
I thought space M&Ms.
Space M&Ms, yeah.
No, it looks great. We have 11 days until Mando Season 2 comes out. It's like, oh my gosh, like it's coming out in 11 days.
I know. It's strange because we talked about this a million times, but it feels so long since we've had the show, which it has been a while. It's been
nearly 3 years.
Or 2 years. I mean, yeah, almost 3.
It'll be 3 in December, but
yeah,
I'm so pumped up. I cannot wait for season 3 of the show.
Do we know how many episodes are there? Maybe we should look that up.
I would guess it's going to be the same as the other 2 seasons, which would be 8. Because the episode length is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, so I have to imagine they'd stick with the same episode
Yeah,
format.
there's 8. Looks like there's 8.
Super exciting. I cannot wait.
I think it's going to be great. It's always, I mean, the last season, they really ramped it up and did an excellent job. I would imagine with this one, especially with all the delays, they want everything to be perfect, and they're setting up a lot of connections with the Ahsoka show, I'm assuming, as well as maybe Andor in some way. I don't know. Or maybe with Bad Batch, too. I don't know. I thought they were going to do that last time. They didn't really. But either way, like, if it just stands on its own, I'm happy with that.
I think there's definitely, that show coming out with Jude Law, Skeleton Crew?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So apparently, from what I've heard, they're trying to connect Skeleton Crew to Ahsoka to Mando. And apparently that's going to be like a culmination leading into a movie. That's the rumor right now.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, because there's that Star Wars movie coming out. I forget who's directing it, but I saw some news about that too. That would be interesting. When is Skeleton Crew supposed to be set?
I believe it's the same timeline as Mando and Ahsoka.
Ooh, interesting. Also, Jude Law in Star Wars is a very cool addition.
Yeah, I love Jude Law.
Brings up an interesting question. If you could have any actor join the Star Wars universe, who would it be? Maybe we've talked about this before, but...
Can I tell you what came to mind? I don't know if I necessarily want this, but can I tell you what came to mind?
Sure, hit me.
Nicolas Cage.
Dude, Nicolas Cage would be sick. I would love Nicolas Cage.
I think I would just want to see Nicolas Cage.
He would fit really well. He's kind of like, he has those like campy kind of roles. You know what I mean?
I just think it'd be funny. I don't know if it's like something where it's like I'm dying to see Nicolas Cage in Star Wars, but I just think it'd be utterly hysterical to get like a Nicolas Cage alien in Star Wars.
Or just him as like a goofy senator or something would be funny.
I would love that. I would love that.
Too.
Cast Nicolas Cage in Star Wars as a goofy senator.
Anything in the Star Wars universe before, or maybe anything's been written for him. Who knows? I'd like to see Benedict Cumberbatch. I know people wanted him for like Thrawn, but I think he'd be good as like an Imperial. I think that would be an interesting.
He would be fun as a like a Sith.
Yeah, I could see that. Or like
you could do his Smog voice.
Yeah, yeah. Tobey Maguire would be a cool addition to Star Wars. Just kidding. We already had him as Cyril.
What would you cast Tobey Maguire as? Like an alien or a?
I would cast him as Cyril. Recast Cyril as Tobey Maguire.
Recast. You know what? I think I would like Cyril better if he was Tobey Maguire. He is discount Tobey Maguire, but like if it was actually Tobey Maguire, I think I could excuse Cyril a little bit more.
You know who else would be good? Emily Blunt, I feel like would be good in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, she would. Who would you cast as her? Like her as a senator? Or?
No. Oh, you could. Or I was thinking more like Imperial.
Oh, she'd be such a good Imperial lady.
Yeah.
She would be really good. That'd be great. That would be really good.
Helen Mirren, I would love to see in Star Wars.
As?
Someone's mother. Someone's like badass mother. I don't know. I feel like
Amy Schumer.
Cool. Amy Schumer. No thanks.
No thanks. Please keep Amy Schumer in Star Wars.
She could work, I guess. Depends on the role. Kind of like an Amy Sedaris type role.
I don't want Amy Schumer in Star Wars ever.
I don't know if they wrote her correctly. I could see that happening.
That should be another YouTube video that we do. Actors that we would cast in Star Wars and as who. Or that's something that we could ask AI. Who would Amy Schumer be in Star Wars?
Ooh, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do a whole AI episode coming up here.
We need to do a whole AI episode where we give them like ridiculous prompts, being like, if Amy Schumer was in Star Wars, what role would she play?
Let's do that. We'll do an episode on AI, and then we'll do it with what actors we would cast.
Okay, that's a deal. Sounds good.
Right.
Stay tuned
Stay
for
tuned. If you guys
our.
want to see that, make sure you click like and subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're aware of when our new content comes out, so you can see this cool new content that we've created for you. There's a little plug. Click subscribe below, please, and leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Is that all the Star Wars news we have?
That's all I heard this week. I know at Star Wars Celebration, like how you mentioned, they're going to announce a new movie.
Yeah. There's also been they're filming Andor season 2 right now in London, I believe. Some pictures were leaked there. That's exciting. Saw some pictures of Diego Luna and Stellan Skarsgård. So, AKA
the best character of that show.
Love me some Luthen. So that's really exciting. They said someone said they were filming at the Henvar Castle or something, which is what was used in the Phantom Menace. So it looks like they might be on Naboo.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. We went back to got some Naboo vibes. I'd appreciate that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So I'd be looking forward to that. And then of course we have Jedi Survivor coming out in the next
2 months. Roughly.
So, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff on the way. Also, I think some set photos leaked from what's it called? The Acolyte.
Yeah, wasn't that a while ago though?
Maybe, yeah. I think there was a couple more. I don't know. Maybe we already talked about it on the show. But either way, there's a lot of stuff coming out. So exciting on all fronts. So much Star Wars content coming out. Skeleton Crew, Mandalorian. Bad Batch Season 2 is happening right now. Jedi Survivor. Ahsoka show. I mean, come on. It's a good day to be a Star Wars fan.
It is. We got a lot going on. But
all right, let's jump in.
The Crossing. Before we get into the breakdown scene by scene, what is your general overview or take of this episode?
It was good. It's one of the better episodes I thought this season. It had a lot of heart to it. It had a lot of the development that you and I had both been looking for in previous episodes in terms of the relationships that they have with one another and how they deal with conflict, which makes the characters more interesting. It's like almost like they heard us, like purposely started doing it because there was like, that internal conflict. Like you and I literally brought this up of like, I wish there was more dialogue between them and there was more like
character interplay and conflict.
Yeah. So in that regard, I thought it was really, really good. Obviously not like a ton happened. I don't think everyone really loved this one, but I thought it was good. It was different from what we've seen before. So it was an interesting watch and an easy quick watch too. It went by very, very fast, which is a sign of a good episode in my opinion. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Sorry, I just like inhaled my own mucus there for a second.
Ugh, gross.
I've been under the weather, you guys. But I thought it was necessary. I thought it was a good up. I'm really happy that they didn't just gloss over the fact that like Echo left, because I feel like in previous episodes of this show, like when something emotional happens, like the characters just don't talk about it.
Yeah, the episode stands alone as if like nothing has happened.
Yeah, like there's no closure, like implications or closure to what has actually happened. Like I know this is like a minor thing, but you know how like Tech breaks his leg in the first episode?
Yeah.
And then like the following episode he's completely fine. They do that in terms of character development sometimes. So it's like when Echo and Hunter argue in like the first 2 episodes where Echo's like, we need to be doing more. Like they don't really talk about that for the next few episodes afterwards. Like it's just dropped. Like it's specific to the first 2 episodes and then they drop it and then they don't talk about it again until Echo actually chooses to leave. And I think that's been like one of my biggest gripes with the show is like the character moments haven't really been allowed to have impact or like be a character moment. So the fact that like the Bad Batch were fighting with each other this episode and then Tech gets snippy at Omega and then later that they have a heart-to-heart on it and he's like, yeah, I miss him, but like we need to move on because that's necessary.
Yeah.
And he made a decision and I have to respect that. And so I thought it was really nice to actually see some conflict and then resolution play out on it. Because like I don't know, because in past episodes it's just like it hasn't been there and you don't really feel the impact of the character relationships. So it was really nice to see that fulfilled this week in a little way.
I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. It was good. It was just it was well thought out, I thought.
I don't necessarily agree with people who are like, this was just terrible filler. And I'm like, I don't really think it was filler because they were dealing with the loss of a character that happened in the mid-season finale. So it definitely wasn't filler on that front. But also it was like a fun, like little adventure. Yeah. Like it actually had like a story backbone. Like they're going through an adventure, but the backbone of that little adventure was they're trying to deal with the fact that Echo's no longer there.
Yeah, and then you also have those elements of Sid as well. Like that stuff kind of creeps on back, which is also important. So that it does kind of contribute to the overarching story that we've seen presented thus far. So in that regard, yeah, I agree. I don't think again, I don't really love the word like filler episode, but like, and this one didn't, but this one didn't feel like that either. Like some of these other ones that they had where they're just kind of doing their own thing and not addressing the stuff that's happened in the past. This wasn't really that. There were still those undertones of everything going on, their work and the stuff that they're working through. Mentions of Crosshair and Echo and them leaving, and then the frustrations between everyone in the group.
Yeah, it was purposeful.
Yeah,
there was a purpose to it. But yeah, let's break it down scene by scene to get into some details regarding this episode.
For sure. So we start out the episode, Bad Batch is in the Marauder to a desert planet going to an Ipsium mine that Sid has purchased. The clones are going to excavate the mineral Ipsium, which
Lorem Ipsium.
Lorem Ipsium. Actually, there's an interesting little factoid here. Ipsium it seems to be a play on the word ipsum, which is a Latin word meaning like himself, herself, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's referring to himself, herself, themself, theirself, like that sort of idea. I took Latin in high school, no big deal. So by going to an Ipsium mine, in a way, they're kind of going to that cave to find themselves, not just the mineral, but in a way they're finding
Look at you in the metaphorical writer side of you coming out. That's cool.
It's clever. Yeah, that was definitely on purpose, I thought. Because when we were watching it, I'm like, Ipsium, why does that sound so familiar? And you pulled it out too. You're like, lorem ipsum, because that's what pops up in like PowerPoint presentations when you haven't put it together yet. But yeah, that's what it means. It means like, I think it's himself, herself, something. So I think that's kind of what the writers were trying to do, is like, oh, they're going to find themselves a little bit more, which interesting. And there's some moments of that throughout that we can talk about in a bit. They get to the mine. They're going to go in and extract it. It seems like a pretty normal mission. And Hunter assigns Omega and Wrecker to keep watch. Tech is like, no, don't. We need Wrecker. Omega's like, I'll serve as a lookout, which doesn't seem like a great idea. I think you probably need some backup there. I don't think a 13-year-old's going to be able to stop anyone from doing anything bad.
You three go.
Yeah. You three go without me. So Wrecker ends up to stay behind. So this is the first like conflict we get with that. Wrecker's like, yeah, I'm going to stay behind with Omega. I'm not going to. Hunter's like, you got to come with us. And then Wrecker's like, no, I'm going to stay behind. During this, we see a masked figure who's looking at them with a pair of macro binoculars. Interesting. Who do we think this is?
So one of our followers suggested that it could be Boba.
I thought something similar. Yeah.
And I don't think so. I don't think it's Boba. I think it's obviously a child. I think it's a child.
Like a teenager.
Like a teenager of like 14, 15, 16, 17. I don't know. But like the shape and size of said individual is too small to be an adult. So I think it's definitely like a child / teenager. I think... So there's a shot in the original season 2 trailer that looks like a group of very young clones that are like being used for... looks like they're being used for like slave purposes in the season 2 trailer. And I'm wondering now if that kid is maybe a young clone.
Interesting.
Based on that shot in the trailer.
Could be. I'd have to look at the shot of him again.
Maybe I can pull up the season 2 trailer.
Well, yeah. I'm just trying to look at the actual episode to see, because I forget it's a mask. Whoever it is wearing a mask that looks familiar to us in previous.
What, the kid?
Yeah. Let me see if I can.
I don't think it's in the... Wow, we've already seen like all of these shots from the trailer, which is interesting. So, there is a specific shot. I think it's in the first trailer that Kevin Yost did.
Oh, right. Here, let me share this. This is who we're talking about.
Oh, you know what? This totally might be that episode. Oh, yeah. I think that's a kid.
Definitely looks like a kid, yeah.
Because Boba at this point, I don't even think Boba's that small. You know?
I don't know. It's tough to tell from here.
Well, like look up a picture of Boba from, what would have been season 4 of Clone Wars, which I think might have been the last time we saw him. Season 4 or 5. I can't remember the last time we saw Boba in Clone Wars, but that doesn't look like him to me.
He's more of like, but I mean, he's Omega's age, right?
No, wait. Yeah, like that almost looks like, first of all, that facial expression.
He's so moody, dude.
He's so broody.
How moody he is.
He's such a broody kid. They're not the same age. Omega is not, well, Boba doesn't have accelerated aging either.
Well, either way, it could be. I think that'd be an interesting choice. If it was, that would be an interesting choice.
I think I want to pull it.
But either way, I don't think they want you to really have an idea yet. They're keeping that very close to the chest.
You know what?
Yeah.
I pulled up I don't think we've seen this kid yet. I'm going to pull up this shot from the trailer. We have not seen that kid yet. Who is that?
Oh, interesting.
We have not seen...
Looks like that is someone that's going to come back. I don't know who that is. What if that was Boba? Maybe they just animated him differently.
No, because Boba, well, he did shave his head, but they could have given him hair again. I don't think that is. That kind of, you know what that looks like? That kid kind of looks like the other youngling in the same arc with like Gunji. The what is that kid's name? He's so annoying.
That is whoever is looking at them in the binoculars.
Is it?
Yeah, 100%. Look at this.
Do you want me to stop sharing? Okay. Oh my god.
So like look at his hands.
Yep, that's him.
Yeah. So that's who this is. So I don't know. You can't really tell from that. Maybe
so
it's
whoever that is.
Breathtaking Boba. I don't know. But that's who it is.
Yeah.
So we've done some research. We figured out who it is. It's this guy. Whoever this guy is. His name's
whoever this
like
kid is.
Columbus Prumpy or something.
He's got a big nose.
Yeah. He's hot. So anyway.
Okay.
He's looking at the ship. Okay? Looking to do some to be a ne'er-do-weller. How often does he do well? Ne'er.
That was bad. Anyway, keep going.
Inside the mine, Hunter and Tech find that has been depleted. There's not much Ipsium there. So they go back deeper into the mine. Tech finds a faint reading and says it's going to be hard to reach. So Hunter proposes bringing a deeper hole, but they think that it'd be dangerous to destabilize it because it might blow up and kill them all. So outside the mine, Omega's talking and saying how it's weird without echo. And Wrecker's like, you'll get used to it. And we can tell this is clearly bothering Omega. She's very sad to see her little buddy gone. Hunter gets on the comlink, says that they need Omega's help inside the mine because they need her tiny little body to go help be delicate and extract the Ipsium. So she goes in there, she extracts it, puts it in a little canister. Interesting little tool she's got there.
Cool effect, I thought.
We see the stranger approaching the Marauder. This cannot be good. And they discover that the rest of the Bad Batch comes out. They want to go back to the planet. They're saying that the weather patterns are different. But then they see this guy stealing the ship. Interesting dynamics arise as Hunter's now angry with Wrecker for neglecting his duties. And Wrecker's saying he says there was nobody there. And they're all arguing now. I think this is the first, it's interesting how they're, disagreeing with one another. Also, Wrecker, why'd they park there? I don't understand why it wasn't in the view of,
they parked they parked there because Tech was like, it was the only suitable landing area that was stable or whatever. He says something about it, why they parked there.
Also, you guys don't lock the car. You didn't click the locker button on your car. Yeah, come on. Yeah. There's no security systems in these expensive ships.
Yeah, that is a little weird. I thought so two things here. One, I like that they're finally showing us Hunter's special skill again throughout this episode, which is he can sense things. He has got he's very tuned into what's going on around him. He's got a heightened sense. And that was brought up in the first arc with the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars, but they haven't really talked about it much since then. Yeah. So it was kind of nice to see that kick back in. I like to refer to it as his dad sense because it happens so many times in the episode where it's he'll it's almost like the Spidey sense where he'll be sitting there and he just goes, something's wrong.
Yeah.
There was one moment where he goes, they come out of the mine after, getting it before the ship gets stolen, and Hunter goes down and he picks up the dirt and examines it, and he says something along the lines of, storm's coming. You got all of that just from picking up the dirt?
Yeah, that's right. I thought that was funny too. He's there's a storm on the way.
Yeah. So I don't know. Okay. The sense thing, that was funny to me throughout the episode. The other thing too is when the Batch starts arguing, there's so much passive aggression happening between them where they're just taking shots at each other, where it would be Hunter's Wrecker, why didn't you see this happening? And Wrecker's there was nobody there. And then Tech takes a shot at Wrecker. Yeah. So there was a lot of that passive aggressiveness that you would naturally see between, I don't know, a sibling dynamic. So that made me laugh.
For sure. There's a lot of that brotherly dynamic in this episode, for sure. Omega wants to get the Marauder back. Tech's how could you miss the ship getting stolen? And then he's you were distracting me. Tech checks his scanner, as he always does, and finds a spaceport 40 clicks south of the mine. He suggests they get a ship there. So they grumble about it, and they start walking through a canyon. Omega's like, I'm going to contact Echo. And then Tech's like, oh, he must have disabled his communication device. And he's like, he must be on a sensitive mission. Which, do we think that's true? Is that really why? Or do you think maybe Echo just has it off because he doesn't want to talk with them for the time being because it makes him sad or something?
I thought he would have just turned it off because it's dangerous to communicate. That's what I would have thought, just in terms of, because the stuff that Rex is doing right now seems very sensitive. Like it's not something that they would want to be on the Empire's radar for. Like Rex has he's a little bit more involved in what's going on at the moment. And I would gather that Echo would turn off his communicator because it's just dangerous and it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. They have the Spidey senses tingling, and they have the herd of wildebeests that come through and start chasing after them.
The blatant Lion King inspiration
reference. Luckily, they have grappling hooks, and they go up there. They drop the Ipsium. Tech's like, you got to jump on that, Wrecker. Of course, Wrecker gets the worst job on the planet. Has to get trampled by a bunch of wildebeests. Star Wars wildebeests.
They nearly Mufasa'd him.
Mufasa'd. Yeah, yeah. What if Tech just pushed him off and was like, you have to do that? It's like, long live the king. So they protect it so it doesn't explode. Thank God. But don't get happy too yet, because the thing ends up exploding anyhow while they're fleeing inside of the mine, and it blows up and strands them inside. Very similar to Lord of the Rings, Mines of Moria. Very similar kind of vibe going on here.
It definitely reminded me of the end of the last Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, where they're going through the the little
the
canyon area. Yeah. That's what the whole design looked like. Where the wildebeest trample through. Yeah. That looked exactly like the end of the third Indiana Jones movie.
Totally. Yeah. It did look a lot like that. Which I watched the other day, by the way. I watched the end of it, by the way, the other day. Holds up. Great movie.
Such a good film.
They're saying, they're like, what are we going to do? That must be a scary thing to happen. You're stuck in a mine. Can't get your... Can't get out. You have no idea how you're going to get out. Omega's trying to get a signal to the Marauder, but it's not relaying it. Tech's like, this guy probably disabled it. And which is interesting to me, because it's like, seems like the thief was maybe tracking them for a while. Looking at him through the binoculars, knows how to turn off the transponder.
Yeah.
Seems like he had some kind of agenda,
Yeah. Maybe to lure them somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. It doesn't seem like a random thing, like someone saw it and wanted to steal the ship for parts. It seemed more planned out than that to me.
Well, also because the general area is abandoned.
Right. So it's like, why would you be in that area? It's not like...
Yeah. It almost raises my suspicions towards Sid.
So maybe she's trying to get rid of him.
I don't know. She's super shady. They've been hinting at her exit, and I don't know. She didn't seem that bothered.
To be really valuable. I mean, I could see her wanting that too.
Yeah.
Either way, Hunter says they should focus on digging themselves out of the mine. Tech agrees and says it's unlikely that Marauder will be recovered. Omega is not happy about this. She says she doesn't want to lose hope. It's their home, and she doesn't want to lose that home like she lost Echo. She's clearly very upset about Echo. Hunter explains that Echo's on another mission, but she says that he's not here. They're supposed to be a squad. And then Tech's like, hey, we existed before Echo, the squad, and we'll exist after Echo. We're fine. And he goes, what is your issue? So seems like, I thought this was interesting because it seems
that was pretty good, by the way.
He's kind of approaching it in a way where he's like, we have to deal with this. You got to deal with it too. Like, we're not stoked about it, but like, this is the situation we're in.
Yeah.
But I felt some resentment maybe a little bit towards Echo too. But he's just like, this is and he's taking it out on Omega a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the vibe I got there.
Yeah. I think this episode was just kind of displaying how they all deal with it in different ways. Like Omega, obviously.
They all put their heads down and just move forward, and she wants to talk about it.
Yeah, then that makes sense. I mean, she's a young girl.
They even say something about this later, about being soldiers, and that's how they deal with it,
Yeah.
But so She doesn't like this comment, throws the whatever it was at him, some kind of device. I don't know.
The mining device.
There you go. And walks away. I want to be alone. Tech's like, I merely stated the truth. And Hunter's like, she's upset because she already knows the truth. So she's exploring the mine, trying to find shelter, and she discovers a buttload of ipsium. Like a ton. They hit the mother.
Of lorem ipsum.
Lorem ipsum. She found herself in the mine.
She found a lot of lorem ipsum.
Yeah. So Hunter and Wrecker are like being big older brothers here, and they're like, go fix your relationship with Omega. And Hunter's like, Omega's having a hard time with it. She's just a kid. Older brother vibes here. It's like the older brother's telling the younger brother who got in a fight with their younger sister, go be nice.
Go fix it.
You know? Yeah. Tech catches up with Omega. They found this big cavern, and they could use some of it to blow their way out since it's so, potent or explosive, whatever. It's more pure than the one that they found in Sid's mine, and so they're going to extract as much as they can. So Omega asked him if he trusts her to do that. Kind of a little passive-aggressive comment here.
There's so much passive-aggressiveness.
He's like, I know you're fully capable of doing the task. And then Omega's like, retrieve the empty vials from my satchel. I love the way she says satchel. My satchel.
You're doing some pretty decent impressions here.
I'm getting better.
The way
as we
you
go
said,
on.
the way that Tech says, "What is your issue?" Yeah. Like you said that so perfectly.
Yeah.
That's literally how he said it.
That's how Brits say issue. They don't say ish. They say issue.
Issue.
So they are collecting they are filling up the ipsium vials or whatever, and then Omega decides to reach for the most dangerous area ever.
Classic.
For some reason. I don't know why she decided to go to that one, but she loses her balance. Big surprise. Like, why are you reaching for the one that's like on a ledge? There's so many other areas you could get it from, but whatever, I guess.
You know what I love too is like the Bad Batch are constantly allowing her to get into these dangerous situations. Yeah, it's like at least by now you think that they would have learned that it's not a good idea to let a young child wander off on her own. Like even if she's upset, because she constantly gets herself into these scenarios. And so it's just like, it flabbergasts me. It's like, how many times have we been through this, guys? Like, how many times are we going to continue to let the child go off on her own and get into a dangerous situation? Yeah. Like, I think it's pretty obvious, like, you can't really trust her to be that self-sufficient. She's still 13. Like,
it's good experience. It's good life experience for her. What can I say?
Well, it's good life experience until you're dead.
Well, I thought she was going to die at first. I was like, oh, she just fell. What if that's how they killed her? She just falls down into a cavern and dies. Or what if she was falling down and there's a Balrog and it's like Lord of the Rings when Gandalf's chasing the Balrog down the shaft?
That would have been a badass death. And Tech, our boy, just jumping in straight after her without thinking.
Yeah, Tech just immediately jumps after her, which is a noble thing to do. Really dark scene here. Too dark. I couldn't really tell what was going on.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what was going on. Yeah, I even commented on this in my reaction video. I tried to turn up the brightness on my computer, but like I could not see anything.
It was like the Game of Thrones season 8 episode, the battle. I know you haven't watched Game of Thrones, but they have this big battle with all these dragons and stuff. It's a sweet battle if you can see it on the TV. It's so dark, it's hard to see anything, and that's what this reminded me of. It's like I can't really tell what's going on, but it seems like they're in some kind of rapids or something. And
well, you know what this reminded me of?
What?
Like not even the first Solo. This reminded me of Solo because Solo is shot so dark in some scenes. Like the first 15 minutes of the movie, you cannot tell what's going on because it's like Han and Kira are like running through like the little, I don't know, sewer area in the beginning, and it's so dark and so blue you can't make out like what these characters are doing.
Yeah, I don't remember much of Solo, to be honest.
Neither do I, man. I just remember being in the theater and thinking, I can't see shit.
Yeah, I just remember the worst line of any movie where they're like, Han, and they're just like, Solo? Like, oh, God.
Such a dumb, unnecessary movie. No disrespect to Alden Ehrenreich, or however you say his name. I think he did the best he possibly could, but what was that movie?
I don't know.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So they're swept by the rapids into a waterfall. They manage to get back in contact with Hunter, and they're like, we took a detour. Hunter's like, where are you? And it's like, how? They're like, I don't know. Stand by. So they soon discover light. They find a passage beyond the wall. They need ipsium to blast their way out. So Tech tells Hunter to come meet us with the ipsium, and we'll blast our way out. Wrecker's being a grumpy grumbler and decides to follow along. So this is a nice scene that we have coming up here. Tech tells Omega that once the others join them, they'll find a way out. And Omega's like, we've still lost our ship. And we can't contact Echo for help. And Tech's like, we do not need his help, and we'll figure out a solution, as we always do. Good life advice, by the way. I like the positive attitude from Tech. We'll figure out a solution, as we always do. Omega learning stuff here. This is a good, I said this in my reaction video, but good lesson for life. You don't have to have everything figured out the second it happens, but you'll get it figured out. You'll get it sorted. You're alive. You've made it up to this point in your life. You'll get your problem sorted. So I think that's good advice from Tech. Omega's still upset about it, but Tech says it's something about being a fundamental part of life. And then Omega gets angry and says, why are you not bothered that Echo left? And Tech's, this is where Tech says that thing that we were talking about. He's like, soldiers just deal with change. That's how they're meant to be. And they've gone through tough stuff before. This is really nothing that new to them, you know?
Yeah. Well, they're created to be easily adaptable to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's why they're Clone Force 99.
Right. And that's how all the clones are. I mean, they're soldiers. You have to. In a world like this, but also when you're an adult, even when you're just an adult in the world, you have to learn how to deal with stuff and be unhappy sometimes and just keep moving forward. But then Omega says, we're a family. Why don't you act like it? And then Tech is this is a nice moment here as he says Echo chose a different path and Crosshair did too. You know, great dialogue. I thought he said they have to respect their decisions even though it's difficult to understand. He says he processes it differently, but it doesn't mean that he's different from Omega. I thought this was a really good exchange here.
I thought it was really well written, and honestly, it's like these are the things about TV shows that I really like and I really appreciate, which are the quiet character moments. Like I love like, you know, the big battle, like the excitement of like fighting together, or like what's the Force and like the Jedi versus the Sith, or like the spirituality of Star Wars. But it's like the little tiny quiet character moments are what make shows like this for me, and like how they like interact with each other and how they feel about Tech's response to Echo leaving, and further to that Crosshair, like that's really different. Like he processes that like super different. It's something that he can move on from easier because they've been trained to be that way, whereas like Omega can't. Yeah. Like she's much more sensitive.
This is what we needed more of in those other episodes, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think that this is the backbone that you and I have been talking about.
Right.
It's like you don't need characters to fight or argue every single episode. They don't need to have like this massive like inner conflict every single episode. But it is nice to actually sit down and give them moments of quiet depth.
Yeah.
And see how they respond to things. So from a writing standpoint, I just appreciate that this was here. And I only wish that they had more moments like this prior to Echo leaving.
Because it would have made it way more impactful.
Yeah, I think one thing, and I think this is a bigger discussion, but I think one of my gripes is that Echo leaving was inevitable. And one thing in the show that I think that they're trying to tell us is that Echo and Omega have had like this deeper bond than the other members of the Bad Batch, or at least that's like kind of how they've been presenting it to us. But I don't think that there's been a lot of evidence to back that up. I wish that we had, like prior to Echo leaving, like I wish we had more moments of him like bonding with Omega, or her like asking him questions about things, or him continuing her training. He trained her like a little bit last season, but then when he leaves, he's like, oh, like continue your training. I'm like, yeah, but we haven't really had any moments of you being with her.
Yeah,
you know?
They had one moment when she's meditating in the Gunji thing, but they should have made it more prominent. Like he was like her little mentor or something.
Yeah, or he was the one who was primarily teaching her how to use the bow and arrow thing that she's been using. Like we got a little bit of that last season, but they don't give us a ton of moments to actually see that depth play out. And I just wish that like prior to him leaving, like we had these quiet moments of their relationship to each other. So when he is taken away, you kind of feel them being ripped apart.
Yeah.
You know, because they're implying that she had like this great relationship with him.
Yeah.
When there's not a ton of evidence to support that necessarily.
Yeah. I agree. And they could have easily done that in episodes 4 and 5.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6 or whatever. Either way. The two are soon joined by Hunter and Wrecker and have followed Tech's instructions. Omega is optimistic and says it wasn't so bad. Tech positions the vial of Ipsium near the hole, and they blast it. They blast the large hole. They are able to get out, luckily, but then they discover the spaceport through their binoculars, and it looks like it's deserted. So they're going to go explore it, see what they can find. They get there. It has been abandoned. Wrecker says, "We came for nothing." Tech reassures they can send out a long-range transmission and with a communications array. And the Bad Batch asks, they call Sid, and they're like, "Hey, can you help us get us out of here?" And Sid's kind of a bitch. She's like, "I'm preoccupied with other matters. Figure it out. I didn't tell you to get stranded, did I?" And she's not being very nice. We're kind of seeing the annoying side of Sid, which I think is foreshadowing some maybe them not working with her anymore next time. She says she's unconcerned.
Why did they call Rex?
I don't know. Weird call. Maybe he's busy with something. Maybe they are on a mission. Maybe they know that Echo and Rex actually are on a mission. I don't know. But Omega's like, "Hey, we helped you with all your problems with Chinhorn Guy or whatever."
Roland Durand, the 80s singer.
Roland Durand. That guy's sick. That's the guy with the horns, right?
Yeah. Remember, you were like, "Why does he sound like an 80s pop star?"
He does. Roland Durand, dude. That's a sick name. Durand. I guess it kind of sounds like it's like Duran Duran. Maybe that's why. Roland is a sick name. Roland Durand. He has the new song.
Go, go, go.
Go, go, go. By Roland Durand. That would be an 80s song. Go. Yeah, go. Or it'd be like with like a drum machine. Go.
For those of you who have been following along with the show for a while, that's a reference to an episode that we did last year.
Yeah,
Roland So go Durand. Check that out if you want to see what that is.
Maybe I'll start my new artist project under the name Roland Durand. So Sid's finally like, fine, I'll come. And then Sid's like, "We don't even have enough Russians." And then she just ends the transmission. Again, being kind of a B word. So they're like, Wrecker's like, also, "Well, what are we going to do now?" And then Omega goes, "We'll figure it out, like we always do." She gets the that was a terrible Omega impression, but that she
it was pretty bad.
The line that she learned from Tik,
Iku, Rike.
She's learned something. So that was a good way to wrap it up, I thought. And then the episode cuts to black. We end. Solid episode.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to... I think it was just really nice because it was a character-focused episode above everything else, which I think has really, really been needed. Something that I really liked that I did not bring up is that I really got an 80s vibe from this episode in general. Like, for some reason, the overall vibe, like, of the environments, including the music, felt very, like, 80s synthesize-y. And I really appreciated that vibe just because I'm a huge fan of anything from the 60s to the 80s. Like, I just love those time periods. So I really appreciated that. In fact, it kind of, in a weird way, like the scenes in like the cavern or the mines, I guess you would call them, some of the music sounded like a little Blade Runner-y.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was one thing I meant to mention. The score for this, the music for this episode was really, really good. Very ethereal. Very cool. Just it fit the tone very nicely.
I don't know. As far as like the overall vibe of this episode went, I really dug it. I also thought that like the animation in this episode was some of the best in the show. Like the scene with Tech and Omega when they fall into the water, like the way that was lit, like you can totally tell that the animation team was like, we're going to flex here and we're going to hold it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought it was spectacularly done. I get such a huge kick out of how creative this show is.
It's super creative, yeah.
Like, just like with the environments, the music, I think it takes a lot of risks, but they still stick to the Star Wars format. Like, I think I think this show really excels at taking creative risks while still sticking to that Star Warsiness.
Totally. I think that was what kind of set this one apart from some of the other episodes, was like there's just more attention to detail.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to put it. I feel like there was a lot of attention to detail in this one. I think also something worthy of note is I'm going to guess that Sid's betrayal will be next episode because she was acting very sus.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's... I mean, like, this has been a while coming. I mean, when did they hint at her betrayal? Like 3 episodes ago? 4 episodes ago?
Yeah, the racing one, whatever one that one.
Yeah, the racing one. So I have to imagine that this is either going to come the next episode or the episode after. The one thing that I do want to bring up is what is going on the Crosshair story end of things?
I don't know. Like,
what's going on there?
I thought he was going to be a bigger part of the show, like more of an evil force behind this, but he's a very underutilized this season. Why
have we not gotten like anything on him? Like, I just find that so bizarre because he has had the only episode that he's been in this season is easily like one of the best. I think that episode, The Solitary Clone and Truth and Consequences and The Clone Conspiracy are the 3 standout episodes of the season. Like, they are so good, but it is so bizarre to me that we've had 3 adventure episodes with the Bad Batch and no other ones have been devoted to Crosshair.
Yeah. I don't...
Like, why are they dragging it out? Is it because they can wrap up his story, like, super quick and they don't feel like they have anything more to tell? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're losing the weight behind the character a little bit. Also, Cody, what the heck is going on there? And why are we taking so long to resolve these story elements? I don't mind waiting a little bit, but we've literally had like 4 episodes, Matt, of hijinks.
I know, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes left until the 2-episode season finale. So maybe they'll start crossing the worlds a little bit more. I really hope we get Crosshair next week. I think they need to.
I don't think we're going to, because now the Bad Batch have to get off that planet. And I don't think they're going to give a subplot of Crosshair.
If they just ignore it and they're just like, they got off. That would annoy me, actually. It's just like they somehow got off. It's like, what?
That would really annoy me.
I bet they will. No end. I bet you they will, because they already left it on like, we'll figure it out like you always will, and then they'll just ignore it.
That's okay. That's the problem I'm having with this show right now, is they'll introduce like problems, whether that's a character problem or Tech getting injured or like a plot problem, and then it's like miraculously resolved. There's no linear thread through it. Like, they don't see it through, and that's what's bugging me the most about the show. Yeah. And I guess it's a criticism for me because the Bad Batch is a more self-contained story than the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars was an anthology series. It could skip around because that was the nature of the show. It was very randomized because it made up the Clone Wars. With the Bad Batch, you're so focused in on this one group. It's like, I think it begs to have more linear storytelling.
Right.
And I swear to God, if we jump off this planet in the next episode with no explanation, I'm going to be annoyed.
It won't surprise me. I'm just saying, expect it to be like that, because that's what I'm assuming. Let's jump into questions. What do you think?
We can jump into questions, but do you have any concluding thoughts on this episode? I mean, overall?
Good. It's one of those stronger episodes of the season. Not my favorite one, but definitely the subtleties of this one were very strong. I'd give it like a 7.6.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good rating. Well above average.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the best episode of the season, but it was good. I enjoyed it. What about you?
I think probably around the same age, like 7.8, 0.9, you know?
Yeah, that's a fair rating.
I think you're right. I think the subtleties are what made this episode. I think the subtleties are what made this episode stand out in comparison to the other hijinky adventures, because it had more depth.
Yeah, I agree. Way more depth and good character development and good score and good pacing, I think, as well.
Yeah, very, very good pacing.
Let's jump into viewer thoughts.
Viewer thoughts.
Maybe
let's get into your viewer thoughts.
Make a bumper for this one too. Blap bloop 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 bloop.
Scoobity doop ba dap ba dap ba.
There you go. So okay, wow, some long comments here.
Questions, comments, dramas.
Back to the Future fan writes, it was nice for the show to acknowledge the absence of Echo. Why wasn't Wrecker standing with a ship in view? I agree with that. I admit I didn't really like Tech's character last season, but he's growing on me. I agree. I think his character has grown a lot. They're doing a much better job of focusing in the inner qualities of each one of these members.
I think that they've really made an effort to. I think they made an effort to focus in on Tech, which might be concerning. Which might be concerning.
That is concerning. The Bachelor realizing that Sid's not a good person, doesn't really care about him. Sid warned about someone might steal their ship. Says, sorry, that sounds like a you problem. Oh, I guess I didn't notice that. Did she warn them? If she did warn them, then maybe it is her. I don't know. That is weird.
She did. She did say, I warned you. I believe she said that. And then she's like, it's not my... I don't know. She seemed so unbothered.
Yeah.
Like, it just was really suspicious. Her reaction to that was really suspicious to me.
Yeah, it was. Because she was like kind of buddy. She's been kind of buddy with them, and they have helped her a lot. And then she's really changed her tune.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she hired that person to steal the ship from them.
Ooh. She could have. Or maybe she's being blackmailed by the Empire or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, like, think about this. What could her motivation be? The Empire comes in and they're like, hey, we're going to give you 50,000 credits if you sell out the Bad Batch does. And she's like, oh, I'm set for life then.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. It's like you kind of have to think about her motivations there. But then again, like, Sid doesn't have that much character development. We don't know that much about her.
No, they haven't really had a Sid episode.
No.
So, but that's a good... Sorry, I summarized a lot of that comment, but all really good thoughts. Dat Guy wrote, I enjoyed it. It's nice to get more insight into tech. I think he's my favorite character. Interesting. Chris writes, it was really nice. Definitely not a filler. We got to see how Omega and Tech deal with their emotions after Echo left. A bit of a deeper bond between these two. And I find Sid annoying. The Batch has done so much for her, and she doesn't even show them a little gratitude. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out she's behind all the misfortunes that have happened to them. That would be interesting if they did some kind of thing at the end where it's like, oh, she ends up, she's the reason why a bunch of bad stuff has happened. So she's been bad, like, all along.
You know, this is slightly random, but have you seen the first Puss in Boots movie?
No.
Okay, so in the first Puss in Boots movie, Humpty Dumpty is played by Zach Galifianakis, and at the end of the movie, Humpty Dumpty betrays Puss in Boots, and Puss is like, "What? How could you do this?" And Humpty Dumpty's like, I was always there, Puss. And then it's like throughout the moments of the film, they have like this montage showing that like Humpty was there for like all the integral moments of the film. And
it's like him in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, it's him in the background of every like important movie or important scene in the movie. And I'm just imagining something similar with Sid, where it's like
she's just in the back of everything. Like it's actually her in the mask.
I have to just send you that clip. It's so hysterical, but I think I would die laughing if it was like Sid was like, I was behind all of it. She's just there.
What if she was? What if she's a Sith Lord? That's a theory.
I just spit out all my water. I hope you're happy.
I am happy. Good. You get a spit take. That's what we want. That's what we want for the show. Nona Gray wrote, I loved it. So did Tony West. I loved it. Count Drake writes, my theories after the next episode, they're going to quit working with Sid.
Possibly.
Saeed said, I liked the episode. Emotions were not there seeing Echo. Were not there. Episode. Emotions were not there seeing. Emotions were there seeing Echo. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, guys. So that's why I screw these words up. Looks like Omega got some development. Tech's emotional development. Teb is the worst employer. I don't know who Teb is.
It's probably Sid, but
wrote this. Most of the filler episodes are just Bad Batch saving her from her own mistakes. Okay. Mr. Brickfan did not like this. Piece of trash. Stupid filler. Although not that bad. Okay, so he changes his tune here. I did like how Tech is acting more human instead of a technical genius, and I think the episode leads to something big happening for the Batch. Like they realize they're done with Sid, or Sid betrays them, and they decide to join Rex and Echo to help the clones escape the Empire to take their chips out. That would be annoying. I mean, that would be not annoying. That would be good, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting if they joined them. And then, yeah. So, and now it's time for the winner of the free T-shirt.
Oh, for this week's comment.
For this week's comment question goes to a very good, consistent writer to the show who we love, Neil McNulty.
Ooh.
So, Neil, we will be sending you another Star Wars Pod T-shirt. Also, guys, give us some time to send these things out. It can take a little while, so they will come. But Neil, please reach out to us at anotherStarWarsPod@gmail.com with your address and details, and we will get that out to you, as well as your shirt size. And we will send that to you. So congratulations, Neil. Neil writes, I do love me a space western. Favreau once said when looking for inspiration for The Mandalorian, rather than watching old Star Wars, they went back and watched films that inspired George Lucas. Filoni has touched on this before, and this episode to me felt very Star Warsy while also feeling new, and I think this is why. I don't exactly I don't know exactly what the writers have planned for Omega, but I think they need to do it soon. They have shown a lot of growth with their character, and when she shines, she really freaking shines like she did in both parts of the season 1 finale. I'm getting a little bit tired of the child in distress trope that she keeps falling into, literally in this case. Very good point. Music design was incredible, especially that opening track with the sci-fi Western fusion. Animation was incredible, and the Ipsium Cave was stunning. Now for the question. The conflict within the squad was much more prominent in this episode, but I think the show has been subtly hinting at and alluding to differences, divisions, conflicts, etc. Assuming that the show doesn't completely disband the squad, what do you think is the writer's long-term plan for this conflict? Another Star Wars podcast rocks. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it.
Okay, so first of all, Neil, this is a fantastic analysis / question. So, wow. I mean, this is awesome. What do you think about his question, Matt? What do you think is do we get a resolution to that, or are they going to stay together? Because I do agree. I think that we've got a lot of disbanding. And
do you think the writers even have a long-term plan? A lot of times people writing these shows don't. They have a short-term plans because they don't know how long the show's going to go, if it's renewed for a 3rd season or a 4th season and that kind of stuff. Like, sometimes they don't have a full plan, and they just end seasons ambiguously because they don't know if they're going to get a next season. And so they don't have, like, a super long-term vision. So I don't know that they necessarily even have one. But if the show doesn't completely disband the squad, I think the plan for this conflict is it's character development. That's the whole point. It's making these characters more interesting. It's telling you who they are on a daily basis rather than just we go on missions all the time and do fun things. Mm-hmm. The conflict is we all have conflict. They're a family. That's kind of what Omega alludes to in this past episode, and that's what it's like in our family. Like me and you, Melissa, like, yeah, there's times where things work great, and there's times where there's a lot of conflict, and it's turbulent, especially when we're all home at the same time. It's a lot of personalities, and there's a lot going on. So, like, that's what they were trying to get to here, is that family dynamic, and I think it was just the differences and conflicts, whatever, just show that they are human, you know, and it makes them more interesting. What about you?
Sorry, my mic is haywiring. Sorry about that. I mean, if we're going based off how production works, I mean, they already knew that they were getting a season 2 probably by the time that they had finished season 1. So I have to imagine that this show already has season 3 in production. So, yeah. I mean, based on that, I have to imagine that they've been writing out this plan for a while. I mean, it's like, but what do they say? It's like, when you write a story, you should figure out how it ends first, and then write how you're going to get there. And I don't know necessarily how the Lucasfilm animation story group works per se, but I have to imagine that they have a somewhat of a planned out ending for these characters. And as far as the conflict goes, I think it's part of the character drama for this show. I mean, I don't know if they're all necessarily going to split off and go off and do their own thing. I mean, for Echo, I think it makes sense because of, you know, where we saw him in the Clone Wars and how his arc first ended with the Bad Batch, and he went off with them, and then now he's getting restless, so naturally he wants to get back into the fight.
Right.
I think Crosshair was literally like, hey, screw this, I want the Empire, and chose the Empire. So I think it's, honestly, I just think it's like character conflict.
Good question, Neil. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it. Great insight. This is why we like doing the show. And if you guys would like to be featured on next week's episode, please write us at anotherstarwarspod@gmail.com, your question and theory, or leave it a comment on the community page, which we update every week, the day of the show. So we will continue sending out free t-shirts to whoever writes the best question. If there isn't one, guess what? No free t-shirts given. So if you want to claim that, claim it. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much it. We are coming upon some wonderful Star Wars content in the next few months here. So if you guys want to be participatory in that with us, with reaction videos and breakdowns like this, as well as other great Star Wars content that we have in the works, like our AI-based episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you're aware of when all our episodes come out. Please leave us a review on Apple's Podcasts, Spotify. You can watch video if you're on Spotify, but those things really help us. If you're leaving a comment here, if you click the like button, even if you click the dislike button, it helps us boost up in the algorithm and in the ratings. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate your thoughts on all these. It's fun to talk through this stuff with you guys because there's interesting thoughts that maybe I haven't considered before. So I know Melissa feels the same way. So thanks for joining us, guys. We will be back next week for episode 10 of The Bad Batch. And in 2 weeks from now, we'll be having some Mando conversations, which is exciting to say. Baby Grogu is back.
Baby Grogu's back, baby.
In the meantime, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at @star_wars_pod. We have great content there, too. So go check it out. And we will see you guys next week on another Star Wars podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
See you guys next week.